The other day I was browsing one of my favorite woodworking forums and I saw the 10 construction commandments of Wallace Nutting. Now, who is Wallace Nutting besides a guy with the best mattress actress name you've ever heard? He was a furniture tycoon of the early 1900s and pioneered the modern American style of furniture manufacturing. Now, these are the commandments. This is actually like woodworking commandments. I'll put them on screen here. There you go, I gave you a good face to pause it too. So I got thinking, like, what are my 10 commandments for woodworking today? Because obviously things have changed a lot in 100 years. He gave that to all his workers in 1923. And I wanted to give you a bunch, 10 of my commandments, show you how to do them. They're just gonna all around make you a better woodworker and hopefully have a lot more fun. So let's talk about number 1. First 2, I'm gonna just say something really quick, and then the rest of them are gonna be fun little techniques you can try in your own workshop that are gonna help you. First one, oh my God, come here, zoom in. Have fun. There's no other thing that is more important. Don't let people tell you how to do your woodworking. There's so many armchair quarterbacks on the internet that say, oh, if you can't do this, you're not a real woodworker. It is more important that you have fun and do it your way than let anybody else tell you how to do it. So do what makes you happy, whether that's CNC, using a jig, a domino, or hand-cut joinery. Do what allows you to have the most amount of fun, period. Number 2, consider your source of information. We've gotten to a point today in content creation that there are 2 kinds of people. People who create things or people who tell stories. And you need to decide if someone you're watching is someone you want to emulate. Don't learn from people that haven't created things that you want to create. So, I'm not saying anything is worse or better than the other. Consider your source of information and ask yourself, is this person creating things I want to create, or are they just using other people's stuff to tell a story or create information? All right, number 3 is reading grain direction. Now, this is an easy way to do it. I've been showing this for years. You can actually feel it. When you drag your fingers across, you're gonna feel it kind of grabbing one way and the other way will be smooth. This is a piece of lace wood, which is nearly impossible to look at and tell, but it's also impossible to show on camera. Saw this technique the other day that really brings us home. You take a little piece of shop towel here, see how it keeps catching? That's against the grain. Now watch this. Completely smooth. So if you need help, use a paper towel. Look at that. Catching, see it bouncing around, and then smooth as can be. Now, what does that mean? It means when we cut with our hand plane, we're gonna go this way with the grain. Same as when you're shaving your face or your legs, whatever you're into, you're gonna go with the grain, and then you can feel it on the other side, same thing. This matters for your jointer, this matters on your planer, and of course, this matters with hand planes. If you go with the grain, you're gonna get significantly less tear out. If you go against the grain, you have a much higher chance of getting it. All right, now that's good and well when you're working on the face, but when you're working on the edge and maybe you have like a really rough cut edge like this, it's really hard to tell. So you can also do it as you get better by looking at the growth rings. Now a tree grows up and out, and you're gonna plane up the tree essentially, and check out these growth rings. You can see them here, they go off this way like that. So you would plane this way along this edge, and then when you flip it over, they go off this way. You're gonna go the same way. So that's another way to tell what an edge looks like. Remember, it's always gonna be the perpendicular face that tells you what the edge grain is doing. So hopefully that's helpful, and that brings me to number 4. Number 4 is very ironically safety first. You can't replace your eyes. Tinnitus sucks. It's a ringing in your ear after years of abuse. Look down in the comments. I'm sure some people tell you how terrible it is. And of course, your lungs. Cancer sucks, right? So I actually learned today from a woman named Zyla Fox. She's building an airplane on YouTube. She's a great channel. That these are not NIOSH certified. She did a thing with cedar and is now totally allergic. So be careful with dust masks. They have great marketing, but if you really want to protect your lungs, a respirator is going to be the only way to do that. Amazing safety glasses are only 10 bucks. In fact, these don't even fog up. Check this out. Ears are great. I'll link all this down below, but it's important. And it's the kind of thing that you might not notice the consequences right away, but if you don't put safety first as your 4th commandment, it's gonna catch up with you. All right, commandment number 5 is like my North Star. This is a hill I will die on, and it is that accuracy matters. Now, we recently did a video called How Square is Square, where we took a crosscut sled and we moved the fence very incrementally and measured the point at which you could see light with a combination square over 8 inches. And that was less than 0.1 degrees. And so accuracy really matters. And I was gonna do a demonstration with compounding air to show you, but Cam from Blacktail Studios just published the most amazing video where he builds this table and he's perfecting this base that he's worked on for a couple of videos, and it's an incredible result. but he didn't check one of his tools, and it was just less than half a degree out of square. And you can see it causes a ton of rock, and not because it was less than half a degree out of square, but because, you know, you add that half a degree over 4 legs and then 8 cuts at top and bottom, and you end up with, you know, could be 4 degrees completely out of square. So he ended up fixing it. Table came out absolutely beautiful, as Cam always does. But it really, really demonstrates how you need to spend the time to ensure your tools are tuned up. You have a really good crosscut sled. Now, I know there's some YouTubers out there that love those clicks with those thumbnails that say, like, you don't need a crosscut sled, and they promise all these, you know, easy ways to do that. But it's just not true. I mean, when we talk about emulating the people that you want to emulate and create furniture like, you know, Chris Salomon, Cam Blacktail, Sean Boyd, Jason Hibbs, Bourbon Moth, Tamar Hanna 3x3, Keith Johnson. Everybody's using a crosscut sled, and they're worrying about accuracy because that's the thing that makes the absolute difference in the end results. And it's okay if you're getting started, if you're having trouble with that, because you will learn, and you will learn how to fix mistakes like Cam did, which is something we're going to talk about in a little bit. So let's talk about number 6. Number 6, very much like number 5, but how do you set yourself up for success? So we're going to call number 6 measure once, cut once. And I'm going to show you why transferring measurements is really one of the top skills you need for being successful in woodworking projects. There are plans. You can buy plans from me or other creators, magazines, books. They all have plans. And, you know, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and you may start out measuring with a tape measure, but I really only use a tape measure for rough lumber, because after you kind of get your rough parts set up, everything else after that is transferring measurements. Let me show you what I mean and show you how to do it here at the table saw. There's a saying that goes, good joinery is done with a pencil, great joinery is done with a marking knife. It could not be more true. These are the tools that I mostly use for transferring measurements, and I'm going to show you how they work. Here's a great example of how to use a marking knife, sort of talks about all the things here, and then I'm going to show you how to transfer this over to your saw. Let's say this was my stretcher and this was a leg on a side table I was doing, and I wanted to transfer the distance in of this hap lap. I would just take my combination square and then take it over here, put your marking knife right up to it, and then you can make your combo square long again, and you slide it up to your marking knife, make one light pass, and look, if you slip like that, you can go right back to it by finding your line, and there you go. And to show you why that is so much better than a pencil, let me show you how thick a pencil is. I'm going to do it right in the line here, and you can see that is by a factor of 5 or 10 wider than a line. And why does that matter? Because when you start talking about things like very fractions of a degree adding up, that could lead to a significant error. Now, let's talk about things like a marking gauge or calipers, which I'm going to show you why calipers are the best transfer tool in the game. But let's say I wanted to transfer the depth of this hap flap, and that would be this measurement around that we're going to remove material. It's also very simple. I drop this on my material, I lock it in just like this, and then I'm going to be able to transfer that to my material just like that. Now I'm going to show you another really cool trick. Let's say I wanted to transfer this line all the way around my board. Now this is where a marking knife is absolutely incredible, because it can always click back in. You're always going to be able to find that and always be able to get right in your line. And then I'm going to be able to, again, slide my combo square right up to that. I'm going to be able to make that mark right up just like that. Calipers are the greatest transfer tool in the world, and that's because it has 4 places that all measure the same thing at the same time. Look, the battery's not even working on this, so I can't even cheat. But let's say I wanted to measure the width of this board and transfer that to something else. Now, check it out. I have that same measurement in 4 places. One, I have it here. Then I have an inside measurement, which you can see is the exact same there. This little shelf right here to there is the same distance as here. So I can go like this and see that's right on the edge of our board. Then lastly, if you were doing a hole, the bottom of your calipers are also the same measurement. So this is an incredible way to transfer. And to really kind of show you that point, I'm going to use a box that Jason made when we released the Universal Table Saw Jig. As an example, Jason needed to cut this piece that fit into the lid that would then make this lid fit perfectly in there without any slop. And so if I wanted to measure that inside measurement, I could take my calipers. There we go. and then that is going to transfer to that exact measurement. Same thing, here's the most rudimentary way you can do it, is a couple pieces of scrap wood and a spring clamp. You take those, I like to go right at the edge so I know it's the true width, and you spread those out just like that. Put a spring clamp on it, and boom, we can take this and put it in between our fence and our blade so we can transfer that measurement. And then here's a great one I love. This is a fantastic trick, is a combo square actually can do inside measurements. So you take the square side of your combo square, just like that, and boom, it just goes right to the other side. And then, the same thing, you can put that right against the tooth of your table saw blade and this against the fence and transfer that measurement. Now, let me show you a really cool trick in transferring that measurement from a piece of wood and making sure you get a really accurate cut. All right, now I'm just gonna use these calipers. You could use any one of those methods. I've got my edge right there. I can slide my marking knife right up to that, and then take any square, slide it up to your marking knife, make a light pass, and then a heavier pass, just like that. You see that line? Now, here's why you can get this so accurate. Now, I got a ton of videos on this, so I won't go into super depth here, but your table saw blade will probably have one of two types of blades, either a flat top grind, which if you're cross-cutting, probably not, or you're gonna have an alternate tooth bevel, where every other tooth points a different direction. And so when you're making a new cut, you wanna figure out what is the waste side of your blade, and you wanna line it up with the correct tooth. So, if I wanna make this cut very accurately, I'm going to say, this is my keep side, this is my waste side. So I'm gonna line it up with the tooth that points this way. And now I have that line, which means I literally have a tactile thing I can feel. There you go. I feel it lock in right there. I know when I make that cut, that is going to be dead nuts perfect. Now let me show you on a rip cut. All right, now let's say I wanted to cut this walnut to be the same width as this piece. Same thing, I'm gonna bring my square over, just like that. I can then lock my marking knife in, scribe a line across, and then we'll set it up for the rip cut. All right, and as a bonus tip, here's a great little trick with a hand saw. You can cut a line with a marking knife and then take your chisel and just pop out a little shelf wall here, just like that. And then your hand saw is gonna fit perfectly into that line, and you have a little shelf to start it. Now, all handsaw cuts are trued up with a shooting board, which I'll link a video right here you can go watch, but that's a great little tip for starting your saw super, super square. All right, let's go talk about number 7. All right, number 7 is sharp consumables matter and take small passes. And that's in the same one for a weird reason, but I'm gonna talk about that here. These are nice consumables. They're going to last years. These saw blades you can sharpen. This sandpaper lasts 25 times as long as its cheap counterparts, and it removes more material during that time. So it's actually less expensive because you're using a lot less of it, and it's sanding a lot faster, saving your time if you value that at all. Very nice spiral router bits are gonna last for years, especially, again, if you know how to maintain them. And high quality drill bits are tempered correctly, which means they won't heat up and lose their sharpness almost instantly. In fact, I'll link a video down below that has a feeds and speeds chart for Forstner bits that I think you'll really love. But let's talk about why these two blades look different. Aside from the fact that this is a ripping blade and this is a crosscut blade, this is a new blade that has just come out of the box and is very sharp. This is a blade I've had for about 6 months I've been using that is not so sharp anymore, so you'd think. Check this out, just a little bit of spray on it. Wood pitch, or sap, as its more common name, is the enemy of sharpness, along with heat. It builds up on the edge of blades, and you just take a little blade cleaner. You can also use Simple Green and water, but it can damage Teflon or heat coatings on blades. But look at that, brand new teeth, totally clean, and now this blade is sharp as, I cut myself. I just did that for the video, I didn't really. This is sharp as can be, and it's ready to use for another 6 months before I have to clean it. So, clean your blades, but let's talk about why I said take small passes. First with a router, and then we'll talk about the clip. We're gonna show you a demo here in a second, but let me show you a clip first. This is a straight router bit kicking back, and I want you to see how much this bit moves. It is knuckin' futz how much this is moving. People love to say about this clip that the bit was never touching the template. That's just not true. Each second of slow motion footage is actually 13 minutes in real time. And so we could only save a fraction of a second of that clip without it being 700 terabytes. So we just got this portion of the clip because it was the most interesting. Look at this bit moving. Now, let me show you this bit here. This is a spiral bit. Had I been using this, I could have been taking off that much material. In fact, look what this bit looks like when it's doing its job. So much difference on how it is. But did you see the forces at play? That means that the less material you're removing, the less that bit has to work and the less chance you're gonna get deflection, uneven cuts, terrible cuts, burning, all those things. Let me show you. I'm not cutting wood here, I'm pushing this with my finger. This is in a full-size router table with a 2.5 horsepower router locked down in a router lift. And so I'm just gonna take my finger. This is a Mitutoyo digital dial indicator. The Japanese can really measure, man. Those guys are maniacs. I'm gonna push this with my finger. This is just my finger. I'm not cutting wood. Look at that, 1/100 of an inch. Now imagine if I was trying to take off 1/8 of wood with a flush trim bit on an 8/4 board. This is the most you should really be taking off with a router bit, a flush trim bit. And so you wanna make sure you get down the line like that. That is about a 1/16 of an inch. That is the most you should be taking, and the closer you can get to that template, the better. It's real easy. Make a pencil line, go to your bandsaw, get real close. And if you want, you can use a hand plane or a rasp or something to get closer. But if you're using a 1/4 inch router or underpowered tools, you really wanna be taking light passes, which is why I included it with quality consumables. In fact, let me show you a little trick if you have an underpowered contractor saw over the table saw to cut 8/4 material without too much burning. All right, now I've used a marking knife to get a line going here. I'm gonna set that up. Now, if you have an underpowered saw, always use a stop block on a crosscut sled. You can take passes that don't go all the way through. So you can just do this a couple passes in a row. If you're trying to cut all the way through 8/4 material and you're on a DeWalt contractor saw, take several passes. The stop block's gonna keep you right in the right place. And it's even harder with rip cuts. So I'm gonna show you in a second, taking a couple passes with the rip blade as well. All right, number 8, this is an important one. All right, you've used Sharp consumables, you've tried all my tricks, and you screw up. That's okay. You know, the only difference between an expert woodworker and a beginner is I know how to fix my mistakes. And I've learned that through making lots of them. And all of you will make mistakes on every project. I still make mistakes all the time. And the trick is don't tell anybody. You're making stuff for your friends and family, gifts for your significant other, your kids, all those things. And every woodworker likes to go, here's this beautiful thing I've made. This person is blown away. They have this incredible reaction. Like, but look at what I totally screwed up right there. Stop doing that, man. I have a great video on 7 common woodworking mistakes, obviously years of tips and tricks, but like, just learn to fix them, and I guarantee you nobody will ever notice them. And the day you start working, you're better woodworking than 99% of everybody on this planet. So stop telling them where you screwed up and just let them enjoy it because they don't know any better. All right, let's talk about number 9. This one's exciting. All right, number 9, and it probably should have been way higher up on the list, is get good at sharpening and always use sharp hand tools and practice with them. Practice makes perfect. And the reason you practice, like joint of the week, cutting dovetails, using your hand planes and setting them up and doing it with intention, is because you're gonna need that someday when something is glued together. You need to fix something, or there's a little problem you gotta fix. But if you're a power tool hybrid woodworker, hand planes and chisels come in handy all the time for fixing problems. If you're a hand tool guy, of course, get into it. And there's one trick and one trick only to sharpening, and that's get a burr and strop. I guess that's 2 tricks, but that's all you need to do. And if you go watch those No BS videos, I'll walk you all the way through this process, but I'm gonna show how easy it is. And we're gonna be using the new Katz-Moses sharpening jig we're releasing next week. Don't tell anybody. Get a little lubrication on there, and then we're gonna get a burr. And I'm gonna show you a picture of a burr here. I know you don't have a microscope, is you'll be able to feel it. Your fingers are so sensitive, they can feel like something the width of half a human hair. So just feel the back. You should feel like a little wire all the way across. And I'm gonna show you how easy it is. This is this new Zenwu sharpening system we just started carrying. Oh my God, what a great, inexpensive way to get a bunch of diamond stones. It's real cool. So see, we're getting some filings there. Look how ergonomic this jig is. Oh, I'm so excited to show you guys this. And then look at this. I can just feel a little wire on the back, and that's it. And now I'm going to rinse that off. Switch it out for my strop here. All right, when you're stropping your bevel, find it and lock the heel of your chisel against your wrist, and then make the same motion with your legs. Don't pull with your arms, pull with your legs. So 30 times. Woo. All right, and this is the only test you need to do. You can shave your arms, but then you might start to look real silly. Oh my God. One thing I love about this Zenwu strop is it's resin impregnated, so you never have to use compound. All right, let me show you a cool training exercise I use for cutting joinery. All right, here is a practice exercise I like to do with people when I'm teaching them how to do joinery. And by the way, it really helps to set your board up square in the vise to start. So, you know, start square, end square, right? What I'll do is take a square and a pencil. You can use a marking knife too. And I'll draw them just a bunch of lines like this and have them practice good sawing technique. And good sawing technique is like darts. Your arm is just a pendulum. It's not moving left to right at all, just in one continuous motion, same as shooting pool. You know, your arm is a pendulum, your elbow is locked into your side. I'll just have them do this over and over until they can hit a line perfectly. And you should be practicing this as well, because again, sawing something is not something you may do every day, but it will get you out of a jam one day and you'll be happy you practiced. That's why you should cut joinery. So one backward stroke with your thumb, and then just follow your line. When you get the top started square, and then you can use the side of the saw by looking at the reflection. And if it doesn't look like a perfect mirror, then you're out of square. So get it started, and then just like that. Ooh, your boy still got it. Bam. That's one of the exercises among many others, like playing with your very sharp hand plane and not yourself, and all the other good things and sharp things in your shop. So let's talk about number 10. All right, my 10th commandment, it's something I've also been preaching for years, is buy once, cry once. I have replaced every tool I've ever bought in the beginning and gotten in now. And I probably could have saved a lot of money by saving a little bit longer and getting really good things. Now I know what you're saying. It's, you know, sometimes at the beginning you want to try stuff out, or you want to learn and figure out what you like. I get that. If you're just getting started out, buy stuff off Facebook Marketplace, get stuff used, but look for deals all the time. There's probably not a lot of woodworkers in your area competing for the same tools, so if you check Facebook Marketplace every day, you're gonna find some screaming deals, and when you turn around to upgrade, you can sell that and get your money back. But that's when you should buy once, cry once. I guess buy twice, cry once. But good tools make all the difference, and higher horsepower really, really matters. So I think those are my 10 commandments. It's nice to be back. We're doing our best to get this educational content out. Next video is going to be the launch of our sharpening jig, which is really exciting. Don't tell anybody you saw that in the video. My IP lawyer would kill me. Stay safe in the shop, and thanks, Wallace Nutting.